We are back with the Buffalonian podcast. I'm Joe Cali. As always, I'm joined by none other than Dom Loss. And Dom, week 14 of the NFL season. The Buffalo Bills out in sunny LA while we're in snowy Buffalo after a nice little winter week, you could say, to kick off the December month. Taking on the LA Rams, not the Chargers, but in the same building. And, we're going to get into the nitty-gritty here. On the surface, I think the Rams could be pretty scrappy. You might have the reason to think a little trappy about this game. What are your base thoughts before we dive on in here?
I like the trappy in quotation marks comment. No, I think the Rams are, I would say, frisky. They're 6-6. They're chasing Seattle. Seattle's 7-5, top of their division. So it's definitely a big game for the Rams to kind of keep pace in their division, because it seems like that's the only way you're going to be able to get into the playoffs. I mean, the Commanders, I think, are the 7th seed right now in the NFC, and they're 8-5. So it's probably going to be tough for any of the NFC West teams to make it to be finish second in the division and make the playoffs. Like, I think they have one ticket, and that's their division. So they've already beaten Seattle once, but they're going to want to keep pace with Seattle. And yeah, I mean, the Rams are the last team in the NFC West that the Bills play. I mean, they've played the other three, beaten the other three. So hopefully that trend continues. But it's nice to be kind of in fair weather in December. Back weeks now, we're gonna get that with being in LA this week, and then next week being in the Dome in Detroit. So hopefully Josh can accumulate some nice little stats before the last three games of the division, the bitter Northeast. But yeah, I think they're a frisky team. I think I don't know if they're better than their record, but I think they're probably slightly better. Like, I think they're probably a top half of the league. So probably like the 14th best team in football. So it should be a good challenge for the Bills.
Yeah, I'm excited. I think, to get back into some Bills football after a disappointing week from the Sabres, to say the least. And even more disappointing press conference going on right now as we're doing this. But we'll get into that more on Tuesday at our regular edition of the Buffalonian podcast. Let's look at the line, though. I have to search this up really quick. But I think it went more in the Bills' favor as far as
4.5 in the beginning. I think it's going to be interesting to see what happens with the injuries.
Yeah.
I was briefly looking at the report. Obviously, we only get the Thursday report because we're doing early, so we don't have anything. But seems like the Rams are pretty healthy. Like, it seems like a lot of their guys are pretty much practicing, and everyone on the injury report seems like they're going to play. The Bills, we'll see if Keon, right? He was in the non-contact, but he didn't have anything on his wrist, so that looks like he's going to play. Even Kincaid was getting some practice time, so we'll see. Dwayne Carter, that's probably going to be big to see tomorrow on Saturday. Do they activate him? And if they activate him off IR, who on the 53-man roster is going to get cut? Probably one of the defensive tackles, Quentin Jefferson, Jordan Phillips. We'll have probably one of those guys.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, it's good to see that everyone's starting to practice for the Bills, and good to get healthier, healthy at the right time of the year.
Yeah, absolutely. So let's kick it off with the Bills offense, how we normally would. The Bills, tend to get off to a slower start. I'll even say they did in against San Francisco. It was not right out the gate. They were flying down the field and doing what they normally do. After they settled in a little bit, things started to move. It's going to be the same verbatim as it is every week. Start fast. Don't let them have a chance. Do not go 3 and out on your first drive. The Rams have on their offense, right? If you were to turn the ball over, while Matt Stafford is on the upper end of his career, you could say, just age-wise, you have Kyren Williams, Cooper Kupp, and our boy Puka Nacua, your brother's favorite player in the NFL. There's a lot to have to watch out for. So your offense needs to take care of business and get those full 7 points on the board every drive. You have to execute. And I mean, we say it every week, Josh Allen is going to be the big guy, the big man. And that's why he's the front runner for the MVP right now, minus 210 in a lot of markets, the leading favorite. And he's going to have to get business done in the running game. You saw how effective it was last week. Yeah, it was a snow game. So, take your stats as you will, like with a grain of salt, whatever you want to say. But the Bills running game has been very effective with the 3-man committee they've had this season. So you're going to have a nice healthy balance of both passing and running. Both are clicking right now at the right time of the season. They're both doing really well. I mean, wide receiver by committee, working very well with Amari Cooper healthy. You might get, I think Keon might play this week. He was saying how he had to go in the snow dropping passes in practice. So he's like, no, I don't want to do that. So, but I think the offense is just going to have to continue to do what it's been doing this season and just fire on all cylinders and do whatever they can to really just make sure those points get up on the board and stay ahead of the Rams as much as they can. What do you think?
Yeah, I think it's a game where I think the offensive line is going to get really tested because you're playing against Jaden Verse, who's probably been the defensive rookie of the year so far on the edge. Very good power rusher. Kobe Turner is a really good rusher as well. Braden Fisk has played really well. Byron Young. They got 4 really good players up front. So I think it's going to be a massive test for this Bills offensive line. I think it's kind of, you get a little bit of relief because you have a guy like Spencer Brown and Deion Dawkins at your bookends. So you kind of feel comfortable that they could win their matchups. But it's going to be definitely a test for the interior offensive line, which is, again, kind of the reason why you revamped it, over the course of the last couple of years to make that more of a strength, not a weakness of your team. But I think this Rams secondary is incredibly vulnerable. I mean, we saw Trey White in the beginning of the year play on this team and get cooked, and then he gets traded to the Ravens. Like, they're just not. I mean, Darius Williams has been kind of a journeyman. Kobe Durant's kind of all right. Cam Curl's a journeyman. Like, they just have a lot of kind of dudes, but they play really hard. I mean, you got to give them a lot of credit. They've been playing good defense over the last couple weeks. They did a pretty good job on Miami in that Monday night game that they lost. They did a good job against, I believe they played the Saints last week. So, yeah, they've been doing a pretty good job. I do think kind of against the Patriots, they let Drake May kind of get some scrambles on them, and I think the second level, the linebackers aren't super strong in this defense, so I think you could see a big game from Josh Allen on the ground, that like 50-yard mark, benchmark. But yeah, I expect the Bills to be able to kind of run the ball kind of effectively, but I don't think that's going to be really a big emphasis. I think it's more, let's attack this secondary, especially, hopefully maybe we get Kincaid back, maybe not. Hopefully we get Keon back. We feel like they probably feel like they have the weapons to really challenge these guys. Smaller DBs too, so Keon, the jump ball aspect, I think could be a big part of it. And then Josh's legs, I think he could have a pretty big dual threat game on the ground. I know he tied an NFL record with having 2 passing touchdowns and 1 rushing touchdown in the same game, tied with Cam Newton with 22 for most all-time in NFL history. So I don't know. Something tells me that. I mean, I don't know. I feel like this is a pretty good game for that record to break. So that's what I would think would. Again, the Rams have struggled against some of the better quarterbacks in football, and again, we saw also the Rams struggle with. I know Devon Achane's kind of a speed threat, but they also struggled covering the back out of the backfield. So I'd be kind of intrigued to see how big of a game James Cook has through the air, Ty Johnson or Ray Davis.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of options on the Bills, as we both mentioned, so it'd be cool to see. And now moving to the defense, got to make a quick little news note here. Micah Hyde's back on the practice squad. We were in the window of releasing the episode earlier this week in this episode where we did not cross that yet. So Micah Hyde's back on the practice squad. Nice veteran to bring back in. I mean, he said it himself. He's been as much of a fan of this team every Sunday as we all are. So it's good to have him back in the building. And I mean, just quick before we dive in here, what do you make of that? Like, is that, a depth piece, or is it just more of a leadership role to bring in for these young guys kind of a deal?
Yeah, I think it's more of emergency. Like, I view it very closely to Josh Norman.
Yeah.
Where last year Josh Norman came on practice squad, played a couple games, at the end of the season for like veteran depth. I don't know if he ever took a defensive snap, but he made a cool special teams tackle. I remember that.
Mm-hmm.
So that's where I kind of view it. I don't think Michael Hyde's going to play special teams though, so it's not like the perfect kind. You know what I'm saying? It's not like perfect.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think they brought him in to play to like overtake Taylor Rapp or DeMar Hamlin. I don't know. I feel like it's kind of late in the season for that to happen, especially that it didn't happen kind of over Thanksgiving. It didn't happen during the bye. So I view it more as I think they really value the veteran leadership he brings and the kind of person he
Right.
is. I think that's kind of his biggest asset that he's adding to the team. I don't think it's more of, oh, we feel like we can upgrade, but I think it's more of we want a safety blanket because they did lose Mike Edwards. They did lose Mike Edwards. You have a rookie as like your third safety. I don't know how much they want to move Cam Lewis off that, that being that dime corner. And special teams, like I think they kind of have that role for him. So I don't think like if injuries happen and like two guys go down, I don't think they would really want to be starting Cam Lewis as their safety. I think they would probably prefer Hyde. I don't know. And then maybe does that say like, hey, like, is there potential for Hyde to be kind of like the dime corner and take Cam Lewis' spot? I don't know. Maybe that's probably his likely, opportunity to get playing time. But again, I mean, he was running scout team running back the other day. I think he's there because he's a good leader. They value his leadership. I think it's going to do really wonders for Cole Bishop. I don't think they did it because it's like, oh, we need to upgrade. I mean, especially after the game on Sunday where it's like, all right, Taylor Rapp probably played his best game as a Bill, and DeMar's just been steady. I don't know. What do you think? 'Cause I've seen a lot, like, there was a reporter that was like, oh, like, this puts DeMar Hamlin on notice. I was like, what are your thoughts on that?
I don't agree with that. I'm kind of where you are. It's a good like relief to Cole Bishop. Say, God forbid, something happens to either of those guys. You have a guy who's familiar with the system that they run, who's able to come in and who's a veteran and probably be somewhat successful on a short-term base, right? I mean, he still seems to be in all right shape, but I don't think it's putting DeMar Hamlin on notice. I think Hamlin's had a very, very, solid season. I'm not going to say great, but because there have been some mishaps, but he's out there making meaningful plays in games still. I don't think he should be on notice. If you do you agree? I don't think there's anything really to be 100% like worried about with him and Taylor Rapp out there on the field. I think they've done a pretty solid job.
I think here's what I'll say. Like, do I think Rapp's been probably a little bit better than Hamlin, so I'll focus more on Hamlin. Do I think Hamlin's been good? No. Like, I think no. Like, I don't think he's been good. I think he's been probably like the defined average tier, which is like, I think, again, if all of us said in the beginning of the year, you'd be like, all right, Rapp has been above average and DeMar Hamlin's been average. I think all of us would have been sign me up for that. Like, we're not getting absolutely cooked on, they haven't really given up a lot of deep passes. And I know the Nico Collins one, but that was really Cole Bishop's fault.
Yeah, that wasn't.
We haven't seen a lot of those. We've seen some big runs, but we've also seen those safeties. I know the Derrick Henry one kind of goes in people's mind, but like we've also seen plenty of examples of the safeties making big time tackles in the open field. Are these guys elite? No. Like these aren't Hyde and Poyer in their prime, all pro caliber safeties. But
no.
I think they've been solid, and I think that's all you could ask for. And I think there is definitely a question of, listen, Micah Hyde's 33. Like, are we going to pretend to sit up here and say that we're getting prime Micah Hyde? Like, if we were getting prime Micah Hyde, this wouldn't be even a question, right? So, like, we're getting probably, if Micah Hyde plays, he's probably getting average safety play at best, right? And we already know that we're getting average safety play from Hamlin, so why risk it is what I would say. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, why would we, if we're getting average safety play from DeMar Hamlin, why risk the fact that we could put Hyde in there who may give us average? Like, I don't think Hyde has a super higher ceiling just because of how old he is and how injury, with the neck and all that. Like, I just don't see how his ceiling is higher than DeMar Hamlin's. I don't know. Maybe, do you agree? I don't know. I just thought that was wrong. Like, oh, it puts him at a blast. I was like,
no, I would 100%.
Oh, why did they think he did it right now? I was like, I don't know. Like, I don't know. They cut Mike Edwards. I think everyone thought they put him in the practice squad, right? They had an open spot on their 53-man roster for a very long time, right? And everyone thought that was going to Micah Hyde. Guess what? They gave that to Jalen Virgil, who's really earned it, been good as a gunner in special teams. But like, they didn't give the 53-man roster, the 53rd spot to Micah Hyde. They gave a practice squad spot to him. So like, I think that's kind of telling too. I mean, listen, there's no disrespect to Micah Hyde. I love the guy, but like,
yeah,
I think I don't know. I feel like that member of the media lost it a little bit. Got
Yeah,
exposed.
I would 100% agree with you. There's no one that should be on blast, like you said. I mean, serviceable, not tight ends, geez, two safeties who've been serviceable all season. DeMar Hamlin especially. I mean, he almost got his third interception if it wasn't for a penalty flag thrown on the play. But they're not ball hawking safeties, like you said. They're not Micah Hyde and Jordan Poyer in their prime, but they're serviceable out there. And like you said, Micah Hyde's on the practice squad, so it's not anything. They're not trying to take a spot from anybody. Now, here's the real question. Who's better playing on the scout team, Micah Hyde or Daniel Jones? That's what I want to know. That's what I want to know.
Dang.
Because, I mean, Daniel Jones, yeah, I mean, come on. He's a Minnesota Viking now, but he was on the scout team. What a comeback story for him. Anyway, let's dive into the Bills' defense against the Rams. Like I said, you have Puka Nacua, Kyron Williams, and Cooper Kupp, along with Matt Stafford to worry about. Do you think pressure on Matt Stafford really will just unravel that, or is it going to take more than that?
Well, it's tough because I think Stafford's a gunslinger, so I think you're going to see some throws that are going to really be really annoying, and he's going to take a lot of chances. I feel very man, I'm blanking on the quarterback who I said, man, when you play this guy, like he's going to make some throw. Man, who did we play earlier in the year? This is really going to bother me. Like it's going to throw you a couple. Oh my god. Oh, it's so bad. I can't remember who it was. And it was like, oh, we caught him. Oh man. Might have been Geno. I don't think it was.
I was thinking Geno Smith.
I don't think it was. I'll look it up later. But Matt Stafford's like an elite quarterback in my mind. But
yeah,
he does have like the gunslinger mentality. Well, he'll try and throw it in tight windows, and like some of them, because he has a rocket arm, he'll make them. Sometimes he won't. And I think the Bills are going to defense in the secondary. You know, Rasul Douglas and Kristen Benford and Taron Johnson and the safeties are going to have their hands full. But I think they're going to have opportunities to make plays. To turn the ball over. Kyron Williams has been fumbling a lot recently again. So I think that's an opportunity. I think there's a massive opportunity for takeaways for this Bills defense this week. Listen, the Rams play a lot of 11 personnel, which means they play 3 wide receivers. So I think you're going to be able to keep Taron Johnson on the field. In nickel, I think it's going to be a fascinating game to see how Matt Milano looks on actual like a pristine setting, a pristine environment. I think if the D-line's able to put some... This isn't a great Rams offensive line. Not a great left tackle. Their interiors kind of always seem to be kind of banged up and young. Their right tackle may or may not play Havenstein. So we may get a big Rousseau game again. And again, if the Bills are... Matt Stafford's not the most mobile quarterback. I mean, he'll stay in there. He's a tough guy, and he'll stay in there and rip it. But I think the Bills will force a couple turnovers in this game. For me, it's all about get some pressure on Stafford, and then when you're opportune, make him throw in tight windows, and then make some plays. Like tip some balls to your teammates, make a pick. I think this is the big game for the Bills defense to kind of get well for the playoffs before you play Detroit. Like they have a very diverse run game, so it's gonna be interesting to see if the Bills run defense is up for it. And
I 100% agree with you. I think it's going to be, like you said, go out there, have a day. I think that's the summary for defense. Pick some plays off, because he's going to give you some of those. He's, like you said, he's a gunslinger. He's going to rip some. Stop the run. We have a good defensive front. Jam them up. Get some pressure. Greg Rousseau's going to have a big day, and that might have been a preview for something coming in a few seconds here. But I think getting to the quarterback is going to be one of the big ways that this team does take the victory against the Rams, because like we said, they are a little scrappy. They can put up points on you. They've played really well these past couple weeks, and their defense has been kind of the big part of that. So
it was Flacco, by the way.
Joe Flacco. Oh God, the Colts game. What a okay. Yeah, Joe Flacco.
I think he threw us 3?
Yeah, the first one was a pick, first pass of the game.
He picks
for
him.
him.
Fumble.
Yeah.
So
let's have another day like that with Matt Stafford. What do you think?
I sign me up, babe.
Yeah, I wouldn't complain. But okay. So that's offense and defense. X factor now. Who's going to be the guy who blows it up? I kind of thought I kind of alluded to this. I think still, without the snow, without the slipperiness of it all up front, give me Greg Russo. I think he's going to make Matt Stafford have an absolute nightmare scenario in the pocket. I don't think he's truly ready for what Greg Russo is going to be doing to him back there. I think he's going to really cause things to slow down, and they might have to resort to the run a lot more. But passing wise, I think he's gonna get there quite a bit on Matt Stafford. What do you think?
Mine is a man that's been snake bitten. Doesn't have any interceptions this season. Has been close.
Yes.
It's blocked for his teammates when they got interceptions. I think he takes one to the house. I think Rasul Douglas gets a pick 6 for the boys.
Rasul. Yes.
Yes, I think he's been snake bitten, no picks, kind of known as a thief throughout his career. So I know he's edging, really trying to get on the board. I think he gets on the board in LA, and he gets 6 for the lads.
There we go. I like it. MVP of this game. It's easy. There's an easy one of every game, as we say. Josh Allen. MVP of this game. I think this is going to be a big Ray Davis game. I think he's going to have 2 touchdowns. I think it's going to be unbelievable. He's going to put on a show, make some catches. Maybe he'll catch one. Maybe he'll run them both. I don't know. I think Ray Davis is going to be the running back on notice this week after James Cook last week. What do you think?
Well, I'll double down. Rasul Douglas will be the MVP. If I'm predicting him to get a pick 6, that's a pretty valuable game for the boys. Yeah. I think he gets a pick 6. I think he's been very good in the run game as well. So the Rams do a lot of funky stuff, end arounds and all that. So I think he'll make some good plays in the run game, tackle well, and get rewarded with pick 6.
I love it. And this leads to the inevitable, the score at the end of the day. Off whip. Bills 35, Rams 30. Yeah.
Man.
No. Yeah, I think it's going to be high scoring. 2 gunslingers as quarterbacks. Come on.
I got 27-20 Bills. I think it'll be close. I think it'll be a competitive game.
Okay.
But I think the Bills, again, I just think the Bills are more talented. I think they're going to take advantage of this young defense. I think they're going to get their points. And I think as much as Stafford is, I have a lot of respect for Stafford, and he's a great player.
Mm-hmm.
He has that Josh Allen in him. He has that Brett Favre in him where he'll throw. He has such a great arm. He's literally in the 99th percentile in arm strength probably in NFL history. So sometimes that gets you into trouble.
Yeah.
It'll get him into trouble. I think it'll get him into trouble on Sunday.
Alrighty. I think that's going to do it for this edition. Anything you want to add in before the Bills, take on the Rams in sunny LA?
Well, I'm just excited that the Bills will be able to witness, the palm, some nice little trees action. Kevin Adams said that, in New York they don't have palm trees and they have taxes. So, I don't know how the Bills were able to make such a good team with those working against them, but.
Yeah, I mean, you never know. It's apparently, I don't know. Kevin Adams you saying that just re-infuriated me. So we're going to go on that note. We'll talk all about it on Tuesday on the regular edition of the Buffalonian Podcast. But thanks for listening. This is the Buffalonian Podcast, betting on the Bills. I'm Joe Cali. As always, I'm joined by none other than Dom.